And if the judges will please introduce themselves.
And good morning. My name is Tanya McConnell. I spent about 20 years as a professor of history at Columbia College in South Carolina. Then a few years ago, decided to do something really interesting and became a high school history teacher, also in South Carolina. I'm delighted and honored to be with you. Doing We the People is one of the highlights of my year. I'll ask my colleagues to introduce themselves. So if Miriam, you'll introduce yourself, please.
Hello, everybody. I'm delighted to be with you. My name is Miriam Marsadegi. I participated in We the People as a student on the bicentennial of the U.S. Constitution many, many years ago. I currently serve on the board of the Center for Civic Education, and I've spent a large part of my career providing civic education to people living in the Middle East, and in particular, Iran, where I'm originally from.
I'm unmuted. Michael DePiero. I'm in Tallahassee, Florida, with the Florida Department of Education, work for the state of Florida. I will say, just don't let the tech issue throw you off. Take a deep breath, reset, and it happens.
Would you introduce yourselves, please, and introduce your teacher? I think everybody's muted, so we need to unmute.
I'm Ann Paiva.
I'm Ava O'Neill.
Ray.
I'm Leo Labonte.
I'm Samantha Austin, you're a freshman from North Smithfield High School, and this is our amazing teacher, Miss O'Brien.
And hi. I love it. Well, let's get down to business. We are your Unit 1 judges. We're interested in the philosophical and historical foundations of the American political system. We are asking, as you probably have figured out already, question number 2. Parliament passed the Habeas Corpus Act of 1679. What is habeas corpus, and to what extent, if any, is it essential to the principle of limited government? How has the writ of habeas corpus evolved in the United States? And under what circumstances, if any, might the writ of habeas corpus place an unreasonable burden on the government? If you're ready, please begin.
The writ of habeas corpus is a recourse requiring people under arrest to be brought before a judge or court before being detained or imprisoned. Habeas corpus is the Latin word that means you shall have to body. The writ originated in Section 39 in the Magna Carta. It was brought over to America from the colonists to protect the rights of individuals and guard them from governmental abuse of power. The founders wanted to ensure the rights of the people were preserved, so they made sure it could only be suspended in the most urgent cases. The writ of habeas corpus can be seen in Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution, where it states, "The privilege of the writ of habeas corpus shall not be suspended unless in cases of rebellion or invasion, the public safety may require it." Habeas corpus helped to advance the American governmental system while also establishing checks, though the writ can be perceived as a problem in some cases.
The writ of habeas corpus has evolved as a concept in the United States since it first gained its independence in 1776. The writ of habeas corpus stems from English common law, specifically in Section 39 of the Magna Carta. In 1641, Parliament passed the habeas corpus statute, and in 1679, they passed an Amendment Act to make it more effective. With these enforcements, the right to habeas corpus was considered an essential right to limiting the government's power of imprisonment in England. The English writ of habeas corpus was not extended to the colonists in America. However, it was still prevalent in the colonies before and after the Revolution. The writ of habeas corpus was seen in multiple constitutions as well as the national constitution. Article 1, Section 9 of the Rhode Island Constitution protects the right to the writ of habeas corpus. Quote, "The privilege of the writ of habeas corpus shall not be suspended unless when in cases of rebellion or invasion, the public safety shall require it, nor ever without the authority of the General Assembly." End quote. The writ of habeas corpus has evolved from an idea in England to a right essential to limiting the government, protected in the body of the Constitution.
Habeas corpus is essential to the principle of limited government because at the heart of due process, allow people to get their chance of a day in court. By giving every person who is being convicted of a crime the chance to a trial to prove their innocence, puts a limit on the government because it makes the government have to have solid evidence to prove that someone is guilty. Hamilton called the writ of habeas corpus the great writ of liberty, and he called it this because it gave everyone their chance to prove their innocence. Another reason on how it is essential to limit government is when the government has the authority or power to suspend the writ. In Article 1, Section 9, it states when the writ can be suspended. By stating when the writ can be suspended, it puts a limit on the government because it can only suspend the writ in certain cases.
The writ of habeas corpus can sometimes place an unreasonable burden on the government because the government decides who loses the right to habeas corpus. This can lead to arguments whether the President or Congress has the right to suspend habeas corpus. In Article 1, Section 1, it states, quote, "All legislative powers herein granted shall be vested in a Congress of the United States, which shall consist of a Senate and House of Representatives." In Article 2, Section 2, it states, quote, "The executive power shall be vested in a President of the United States of America," and the writ of habeas corpus is not stated in Article 2 of the Constitution. So this would lead to a power of Congress.
Congress believes this gives the president too much power and can become a burden because it is Congress's job to decide when it can be suspended. Abraham Lincoln and George Bush both tried suspending the writ of habeas corpus during their presidency because presidents believe that they have the right during the time of war. In Ex parte Merriman, U.S. Supreme Court Chief Justice Roger B. Taney ruled that President Lincoln did not have the right to suspend the writ of habeas corpus because it was unconstitutional. Although habeas corpus can place a burden on the government, it is still important to protect the rights of citizens and limit government.
Wonderful presentation. Now let's get into the nuts and bolts, the nitty gritty, whatever word we want to call that. Parliament usually passes things like this because of the situation. Do you know what was happening or what had happened to bring about Parliament's passage of the Habeas Corpus Act? What were let me try that sentence again. What were the circumstances that brought about Parliament's passage of the Habeas Corpus Act? In 1679.
Well, first of all, in the courts, the judges would have to rule in favor of the king most of the time. And so that didn't really give people the right to a fair trial. And therefore, it was pretty much putting them in jail without the right to a trial by jury.
Also, the king was frequently not abiding by the laws, and he was seeing himself as above the law, so Parliament put habeas corpus as like a limit on him so that he couldn't, like Gracie said, put people in jail without a trial or just give people unfair trial.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much. Miriam, would you follow up with us?
Yes, the right to due process, habeas corpus, all those protections that we have as Americans. Do you think that they make the country stronger than if we didn't have those protections? For example, compared to China, a country that's really very mighty and our chief adversary, people there do not have these protections. Do you think this makes us stronger, or is it something that we have to sometimes sort of carry as a big weight?
I personally believe that it makes us stronger because we are using history and advancing our country through history, because John Locke believed that everyone was born with natural rights to life, liberty, and happiness. And that is achieved through due process and habeas corpus.
Mm-hmm.
I think it does make us stronger because it allows us to have these checks that we didn't have in Britain that cause us to want to separate from Britain. And now we have these checks, so we're able to control our government and not be overpowered by our president.
I agree. I think it might make our government, might put a little bit of weight on our government, but I think it makes us stronger because we are preserving the natural rights of our people and putting that above just this more overall executing of our government.
Okay, and how does that impact, for example, the ability to have commerce and trade and innovation, enterprise. Do you think it's a help or a hindrance? I ask because, China is also obviously a very strong economy, but they lack these protections. But does this give us an edge actually economically?
It's okay. There's no right or wrong answer to these. So just go ahead and tell us what you think.
I think it actually helps us economically, because if something does go wrong in trade and there is a little bit of a mess up or something that happens illegally or unlawfully, then one of the people has the right to the fair trial under habeas corpus. And they can't really take away that right unless there is rebellion or war, and so that kind of helps with our economy and pushes us forward.
Michael, go ahead.
Yep. So you mentioned natural rights quite often. So I wonder, how does suspending habeas corpus fit with natural rights? And I'm going to throw in the Fifth Amendment and 14th Amendment as well.
The Fifth and 14th Amendment ensure that neither the federal or the state government can deprive a person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law.
So how does the habeas corpus fit with that? Because it seems like habeas corpus suspending that might actually violate natural rights in those amendments, does it?
I don't think it does, because our country tries to balance natural rights with classical republicanism, and in times of war, our natural rights stay, but at the same time, we need to do what's best for the public, and that's whether it be suspending the writ or not.
Also, habeas corpus protects those rights to due process, and once we suspend habeas corpus, we will be losing the rights guaranteed in the 5th and 14th Amendment.
So by exercising the constitutional right to suspend habeas corpus when it's constitutionally allowable, what are the benefits to the government or
Well,
people?
Sorry. They have to make quick decisions. So by suspending habeas corpus, it protects their rights, and it protects them from people don't get a fair trial. It protects them if they did something wrong.
Suspending habeas corpus is kind of putting classical republicanism over natural rights. So it's doing what's for the common good of the country, even if it's taking away individual rights in the process.
That's a great. Let me follow up with a question coming from your initial presentation. You found the beginnings of habeas corpus in English common law. Can you tell me what English common law is? Where does that come from? What does that mean? Common law.
English common law is the body of unwritten laws that is established by precedents made by the courts.
And so what status does common law still have a status, or what use if these laws are not formally passed by Parliament or Congress, what status do they have, and can we just ignore them?
I think they were an influence to our government today. The colonists, when making their constitutions, looked to English common law as an influence, and you incorporated a lot of the ideas.
And so did it matter then that this common law idea of habeas corpus became an actual law? Yeah, well, thank you. We're running short on time, so I'm going to try to cut short my comments. Wonderful job, wonderful conversation. I tried to trip people up a little bit with questions about common law and those kind of things, and you've nailed the right answer. It is crucially important. It's how we figure out, if you've ever watched a crime show on TV and the process of the courts, it's common law that gives us those things. It's how we decide the meanings of words like common law, like habeas corpus, come to us from that English common law. So great job, great presentation, wonderful conversation. Thank you so much. You did a great job.
I agree. I enjoyed listening to your ability to really respond in a genuine way to every question. And you guys should just be very proud of yourselves. And it wasn't an easy year. It wasn't an easy year to come together as a team. It wasn't an easy, it's not an easy way. It's not a great setup for presenting a unified argument, but you guys did that. And I hope that it was an experience that brought you together as friends too. And congratulations to your teacher. It's a lot of hard work. You should be proud.
Especially congratulations for finding a workaround for your technology issues. That was great. I love it.
Yay.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Unit 1, you have the day off tomorrow, okay? We're not going to meet during our scheduled time. Very well done. We're proud of you. I've got to go to my last Google Meet, and thank you, judges, for your understanding.
Great. Bye-bye.
Take care. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.